The Ravens lost their season opener to the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday night, and since then, I feel like I've heard a fair amount of comments ranging from positives about Lamar and likely to world ending cataclysms about the offensive line, John Harbaugh, and the run game. So, what I want to do is go through several of these reactions and put in my 2 cents on whether they are valid concerns that need to be addressed or overreactions because it was week 1 and it was the Chiefs. As always, I will do my best to be objective, but be aware that these are my opinions of these reactions and will therefore not be universally agreed upon by all of you. If you have a different take than me or want to bring to light an aspect of these that I am forgetting or leaving out, please let me know in the comment section down below. With all that out of the way, let's get to it. Welcome in, everyone. This is Jordan with Ravens Flash Report, and to start this discussion off, we're going to talk about the offensive line. From what I can tell by looking not only at their performance, but also the reactions of Ravens fans around the country, this is probably the most universally agreed upon bad group to talk about. Daniel Faalele is trash. Ronnie is too slow. Linderbaum doesn't look healthy, and Rosengarten looks lost out there. These are some of the takes that I've heard regarding the offensive line after Thursday. Basically, it seems as though this fan base doesn't think that our new offensive line, with 3 new starters, 1 left tackle who finally seems healthy, and a center who missed a good amount of camp, are good enough to block for Lamar and Derrick Henry. Honestly, I'm torn on this one. On the one hand, our front office let Zeitler walk and traded away Moses, who was still reasonably capable last year even while injured. They started a left guard, who hadn't played a snap since college in 2022 after being injured and rehabbing all last year. They have a 3-year player who has never started a game at guard, start at right guard after seeing him struggle in the preseason, and they have a rotation going at right tackle between their super sub, who has durability issues, and a rookie who they took in the second round who is undersized and green. Now, having said that, Lamar's contract is a strain on the cap, and Zeitler may have been too much to hang on to. Going younger, but more importantly cheaper, was clearly the goal, and considering their choice for a replacement is a player already in-house with seemingly the skills and abilities to potentially play well at this position, it seems to be a bit of a gamble. Moses was good, but his injuries and age were clearly a concern to this front office, not to mention his lack of mobility. Going with a combination of a trusted veteran who has proven himself a capable starter in a pinch to hold things down while the rookie second-rounder acclimates himself to the highest level of the game also makes sense in the long run, if also a bit of a gamble. The last bet the Ravens front office took was on a player who, although injured when drafted, was projected to be a solid contributor and potential starter right out of the draft, being mocked most of the time in the second or third rounds. Given his strength and play style, it probably seemed like an easy decision trading with the Browns to get that 7th round pick and turn in the card. I can see arguments for both, in all honesty. It's fair to say that a first game against the reigning champs, who themselves had a top 3 defense last year, is a really unfortunate start to the season and career for some of these guys. But the Ravens are a playoff contender. And new line or not, new player or not, this team has incredibly high standards and incredibly high goals. The front office trying to piece together a capable offensive line to protect their 2-time MVP quarterback after spending a good chunk of change to bring in a generational running back is head-scratching to say the least. All we can hope for at this point is that they improve both in play and communication throughout the season, peaking when it matters most. As far as a verdict, I give this reaction a status of valid. Moving on to our next reaction, we get Derrick Henry's effectiveness and usage. Even after Game 1, I've already heard some Ravens fans saying that maybe Derrick Henry really isn't as good as we thought he would be when we got him in free agency. 1 game, guys. 1 game. If I'm honest, this topic alone is the reason that I wanted to do this video. I have notes taken from all 13 carries that Derrick Henry had in this game, and unsurprisingly, there was a trend that emerged, and that trend was tied into good blocking by the offensive line. 5 of Henry's 13 carries, he goes for over 5 yards, and on each one of those, he had decent to good blocking in front of him. On the other 8 carries, he's either being hit right after the line of scrimmage, right at the line of scrimmage, or in a couple of cases, behind the line of scrimmage. The difference between reasons and excuses is simply a matter of inferring. You can call it an excuse that Derrick Henry's lack of usage and fairly pedestrian production is a matter of poor offensive play and some interesting play calling. But in my opinion, that is a valid reason, not an excuse. One of my biggest concerns before this game and before the start of the season was whether a questionable offensive line would be capable of opening up running lanes for Derrick Henry. But when he did have running lanes, I would say we saw nothing wrong with Derrick Henry running the ball. He looked fast, he looked explosive, and that stiff arm into the defensive end's chest was classic peak Derrick Henry. For me, this is probably the easiest reaction to judge, and its status is overreaction. This next one's going to be quick. Is Isaiah Likely our new number one tight end instead of Mark Andrews? The reason that I think this one is going to be quick is because my simple answer is we don't know. The reason I don't know isn't because I don't believe in Mark Andrews. It comes down to a question of play calling and who the coaches want to game plan for each week. I firmly believe that if Mark Andrews was targeted more in this game, we would have seen his usual level of production. But it seems like the coaching staff saw the connection between Lamar and Likely working really well and simply thought, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. Going forward, I believe we will see games where Mark will be favored for targets and games where Likely will be favored for targets. My hope is simply that the difference in targets is not so high as it was in this game. The status of this reaction is overreaction. The next reaction we're going to talk about is the coaching decisions of John Harbaugh and how he is stoking the fire under his own seat. Now, I've said this for a long time. I'm a fan of John Harbaugh and how he runs this team. I'm a fan of his approach to football and the culture that he has built around this team and organization during his tenure. But after that game on Thursday, my confidence in John Harbaugh to outcoach or even hold his own has almost evaporated overnight. Using up 2 of your 3 timeouts in the second half of a game where you know you're going to need them with 6 minutes and 29 seconds left in the third quarter is terrible game management, flat out. I've said before that John Harbaugh is a coach of people more than football, and that showed in a negative way Thursday. I know that the officiating was deplorable, but Lamar got them within an inch of victory on Thursday, and it was in spite of the head coach. This reaction status is valid. The last reaction I've heard from fans is the idea that the Ravens and Lamar can't handle the Chiefs. Something about this matchup is too much for our quarterback and his team. We get outcoached, we get outbullied, Mahomes gets pressured less, the Chiefs have the ref in their pocket. All right, that one might be true. But these are what I would consider excuses instead of reasons. Lamar outplayed Patrick Mahomes in this game. He was just a better quarterback than Mahomes was in both stats and from the eye test. Lamar completed 26 passes for 273 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, and was sacked once on a strip sack by Chris Jones and lost the fumble, with a passer rating of 90.8. Mahomes ended the day completing 20 passes for 291 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and was sacked twice, with a passer rating of 101.9. So Mahomes had a better completion percentage and passer rating with 14 more yards, but had a pick. Oh, and Lamar also rushed 16 times for 122 yards. So, yeah. I don't mean to take anything away from the Chiefs' win here, but the Ravens' defense held the Chiefs to 72 rushing yards and one of the best tight ends in the league to just 3 catches for 34 yards. To say the Chiefs have outcoached the Ravens is fair. And to say that Mahomes gets pressured less is also reasonable. But to say that the Ravens and Lamar can't handle the Chiefs is what makes this reaction's status delusional. I realize that this isn't the playoffs, so we can't yet say that they are on the same tier, but Lamar definitely showed he is more than capable of winning with this team despite some of the issues we have discussed. The Ravens are not a perfect team, and they weren't in the season opener last year either. As long as we stay healthy and guys continue to get better every day, we should be on a playoff team fighting for an opportunity to play in February. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. It really helps the channel. If you're new around here, subscribe and get Ravens news and opinions every week with live streams after each Ravens game. And please, give me your reactions to some of these comments revolving around these Baltimore Ravens. As always, guys, stay safe out there and go Ravens.